Hello and welcome to the second of the live stream fantasy call-in show where we can talk about anything fantasy related, any fantasy medium, whether you want to talk about books, whether you want to talk about movies, TV shows, comics, whatever nerdy stuff, any fantasy or sci-fi related thing that you want to talk about, you can jump on. We're going to be posting the StreamYard link in the the comments down here, and you can click that link if you already haven't seen it, and you can get on the stream with me to discuss whatever it is you want, whether that's debating something, asking me a question. On the last one, we talked about, we talked all about writing and, how writers come up with ideas, anything, that you can think about. Just don't be afraid. And if you don't want to come up on screen, you can hit it in the comments as always. And so give me 1 second. Got some stuff to put together, and feel free to start any conversations you want in in the comment section while we pull this up here real quick. I'll take a look down here at my notes, and then I will send this out here right quick. All right. Well, so some of the big news, if you're into like zombies and anything like that, it was announced by the original creators. Are there werewolves? Yes. So there are indeed werewolves in my books. Now, I don't make it. These aren't your Twilight werewolves. Closer to underworld werewolves are what you'll find in my books. They're not, at least yet, not a major part. Not a lot of werewolf characters, so we say. They tend to kind of be characters or entities that kind of come in and out of within my books. They may or may not have a little bit more of a part as we move forward in my series. My fourth book, which is there's Tony. How's the writing going? So I just sent my fourth book, which is the collection of short stories, 9 short stories. It turned out to be about 47,000 words. We'll see after the editor comes back, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but it's off to the editors. My artist, Matthew Allen Bond, is working on the covers right now. So I can't wait to see. I gave him just a little, like I normally do. I kind of told him like what the person's going to be holding. If you've seen my other books up top, there's always somebody holding something, right? So I just told him what they're holding and what color, what dash of color, because there's always just a little bit of color, will be in my next book. And then he just goes wild with it. I told him, like, you just do your thing. Those 2 things, and then you make it up. And he always comes with something really, really strong and really great. But so I'm hoping editing maybe might take a month or so. And of course, depending on how busy Matthew is, it could be 2-3 months. Hey, there he is. Hey, man. But yeah, so 2 to 3 months normally. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, when the covers, it takes about 2 to 3 months. Once he tells me he's starting, it takes about 2 to 3 months, and it always seems to be like slow, and then all of a sudden he's done out of nowhere. but so that's going to be the next thing. So that that collection of short stories, it'll probably only be about 130 pages or something like that. But yeah, so I'm super excited about that. I'm on chapter 11 of book 5 right now. And yeah, so I think I said in one of my shorts, so I'll just go ahead and say it here. The title for the short story collection is More Than Legends. All the characters are in their own right, somehow legends, right? But the book 5 title is More Than a Dragon. So I know a lot of people have been like, well, when are dragons coming? Like, when are dragons in your universe? You really barely touched on anything similar to dragons, and I've been saving them for this book. And they're just like my vampires. They're not what you normally think. There are some twists on these dragons, and I have my best friend is basically being my alpha reader. Like, as soon as I finish a chapter, he's like devouring these things and giving me feedback before I even get them out to my beta readers. But yeah, he's like, this is your best writing. Like, I don't know if the story is going to be the best story I've told. That'll be for anybody who reads it. But right now, I think it's my best writing. So really super excited about that. Now, so I got off track. I was talking about zombie stuff, right? So if you yeah. I've heard some people who know a little bit about what's going on are super excited to see what I do with dragons here too. But so 28 Days Later, one of the best zombie movies of all time. Now, they made a sequel to it. Like, I want to say it came out in 2004, and then the sequel came out in like 2007. But the directors and the writers are coming back, and they're going to act like 28 weeks later didn't really happen, and they're going to make a sequel. And they said something to the effect of they have $75 million in the budget for this. So they may even end up making 2 more movies to make it a trilogy. And I am freaking excited because 28 Days Later was like, as far as fast zombies go, it was great. And I think somehow they linked it to a, what is that? That's a rabies virus is how they did it. Okay. Yeah, so More Than a Dragon is actually it's a standalone. I will go ahead and say a little bit more, but it is a book about Dracula, right? So a lot of people, have been like, well, a lot of stuff is leading there. A lot of, what's going on with him. So the trilogy, the 3rd book in the Unbreakable series, that will be book 6. And the way I've planned this out is that book 6 is kind of be the base for the rest of my series. After book 6, we're gonna start jumping around into modern times. And not to say I won't go back and forth a little bit, but yeah, after book 6, after the Unbreakable trilogy is finished, the sequel wasn't too bad. Yeah, exactly. With 28 Weeks Later, 28 Weeks Later wasn't horrible, at least in my estimations. But yeah, I think the guys said that they were only the producers. They didn't have anything to do with the writing of 28 Weeks Later. They didn't have anything to do with the directing. They were just executive producers. They were just basically money guys. They're like, all right, we created this universe for you, see what you come up with. And apparently they weren't super satisfied with it. So they went out and got funding, and now they're coming back. So I am super excited. Hey guys, don't be afraid to click that link. Again, some of you who have just got in here, you can join the stream with me and ask me any question you want, or if there's a book that's coming out, there's a lot of books coming out in February and March and April. If there's something you're super excited about, a TV show that's coming back or a movie, go ahead and jump in, click that link, and jump on here. And whatever time you got, you can jump on here and we can talk about it, debate about it. Like what is, everyone in the comments, what is your favorite zombie movie or zombie TV show? I'd love to hear. Just gonna. Hey man, yeah, that would be great, man. You got a new mic? Yeah, that was my first real upgrade to this. I got I got an extra pop lamp over here, which I'm gonna have to upgrade at some point. Z Nation was okay. It was okay for like the first like 2 seasons, and then I think they went off the rail. There, my producer over there is trying to rep Sci-Fi Channel. Although I will say that I felt like Z Nation was one of the last like really great things that was going on with Sci-Fi Channel. Not a big zombie fan. Yeah, I'm not like one of these. I personally know people who like live for zombie stuff. They're like, that is the thing. Any like some people love vampires. Like it's funny. I will get this all the time. Like when I see like also bots, like people bought my book. Like when I look at my book, more than a vampire we're somewhere over here, more than a vampire. It'll say like J. Kristoff's, Empire of the Vampire, and like it's like, so it's like people will just go for everything vampires. People do that with zombies too. They're just like anything zombie related, they're all about. The Rising. To me, I think you can like The Rising even if you're not huge into zombies, because it's kind of like science fiction too and portal fantasy all mixed together. Do you read any of the book talk authors? Favorite zombies, probably Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is always at the top of my list. Resident Evil. At least the first few movies were all right, and then I felt like they went off the rails. I don't know if it was Resident Evil Apocalypse or the one where all of a sudden she got these like fantastic powers where she's able to like telekinesis the birds out of the. I'm like, that's not in Resident Evil that I know of. But yeah, book talk books. Who wins the Super Bowl? Well, since the Bengals aren't in it anymore, I'm gonna kind of root for the Browns because they're in Ohio too. But I'm gonna root probably for the 49ers simply because Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant. I would love to see him get a Super Bowl title. Like, I root for the underdog, even though the 49ers aren't an underdog team, the quarterback is. And, I'm excited for season. Oh, yeah. Like, well, yeah. And I tell you what, there is so many good horror shows out there. Like, what is it? From is one of the best shows on TV right now. It's got a little bit of portal fantasy, a little bit of maybe vampires, maybe the Browns are getting. Oh, are they getting? Yeah. I seen that they were down. They were down at halftime, but so I'm not too worried about if the Browns lose or not. Oh, yeah, 14 to 45. Yeah, they're getting stomped. I was only rooting for them a little bit because they're from Ohio. Normally, I make fun of them any other time. Yes. From is one of the best shows on TV, no doubt about it. We ran through that show as soon as we figured it out. Survival guy. Yeah. World War Z was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be one of those things that just got. I haven't read the book yet, but I thought it was just way too hyped for the movie. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, I really liked it. And then also Zombieland. It took me forever to watch Zombieland because I thought it was going to be too spoofy, but it does its own thing. It does its own thing. So Zombieland is pretty up there. And so we got, oh, and another thing, my wife's new favorite band, right, is Ice Nine Kills. And a cool thing that Ice Nine Kills does in all their music videos and all their music in general is the lead singer, I don't remember his name, but he is a big fan of horror novels and horror fiction. And oh, his name is Spencer, my lovely producer over there. Didn't want me to not know, but they base all their songs off of horror novels and horror books. And the videos, he has like a whole story arc. And they've done stuff for Friday the 13th, which is one of my favorites of all time. And then he's done stuff for like Nightmare on Elm Street, American Psycho, just every horror book or horror movie you can imagine. Ice Nine Kills has pretty much done a song of by now. And I think their whole like mythos or myth arc is called like Welcome to Horrorwood. So we've been watching all of their music videos and seeing how they, how they tell a story, how they tell the story of a well-known, book. One of my favorites, I think maybe my wife's favorite song, is the song that's based off of Pet Sematary. I think it's Grave Mistakes is what it's called. And yeah, so it is freaking amazing. The thought and the lore they've went into, Funeral Derangements might be what it's called. So if you're into horror and you like rock, it's a little heavy, little scream, some screamo in there, not a whole bunch, but yeah, that has become something I've been really into. And I'm just interested in, because I used to write poetry and I wrote songs and stuff in high school. And that also interests me, how songwriters work stuff in. Oh yes. Interview with the Vampire, right? So me and my wife have been watching, I don't know if we're towards the end of the first season, but yeah, it's super interesting. And of course, I'm always, because I'm a big, everything started with me with vampires, right, for my series. So I am very much, very critical, I guess you'd say, of watching other or reading other vampire stuff. Like Jay Kristoff has Empire of the Damned coming out later this year, and I recently just read Empire of the Vampire. So Empire of the Damned is the next one, and last year I read 65 books, and I did 61. I reviewed 61 of them on my channel, which is insane. Like, that's, even like looking back on it, like 61 book reviews is a monstrous amount of reviews to do. Like, nobody does that many reviews. And so, I mean, I might not come close to that next year, but that's one of the 4 books that I did not review, even though I read it. It wasn't, 65 books is maybe it's a lot. Yeah, make sure if you want to jump on and join the conversation or ask me a question on screen, hit that link. 65 books is the most I have ever read. I read 62 the previous year, so notching it up just a little bit. But someone like Andrew from Andrew's First, he's like 200 books. I mean, this guy reads a book like almost every day or every day and a half. And the big thing for me too is, like, sometimes people on BookTube will say, "Oh, I read 100 and something books," but they DNF'd like 40 or 50, and I'm like, I don't count any. Like, I don't DNF books. I've only ever DNF'd one book. We can talk about that in a second, but I don't count me reading, no matter how far I got into the book. I don't count it as a read book if I DNF'd it. What fantasy book YouTuber do you miss? Okay, so who do I miss that's not actually come right into my mind is Michael Knipp. I loved watching Michael Knipp. He's hilarious. He's the one that got me into Cradle. He's the one that coined the term Cradle is the crack cocaine of fantasy. And there was like I think at the time, I think there's 12 Cradle books, and there was 11 of them out, and I read all of them in like 3 months, something stupid like that. Yeah, I can't DNF. Yeah, it just hurts. It hurts my soul if I DNF a book. Like I tried to. I was the same way for years with movies too. It's like I don't stop a movie, even if it sucks. I'll just I'm a soldier it out, and we'll finish it up. But the only book I've ever DNF'd was I did a poll. I did a poll on my YouTube community post, and it was like a tournament. So it was like all week long, and it was like, who's the most overrated fantasy author? And in the end, in the championship round, Sarah J. Maas won. And I'm like, a lot of people have like not great feelings. She's one of the biggest, if not the biggest fantasy author right now, but she has a lot of haters. And I was like, you know what? Let's see why. Let me read one of her books. So I was like, I seen that she had a relatively new series. I think she had 2 books out called the Crescent City series. And I was like, well, there's only 2 books out. I'll read the first one. If it's halfway entertaining at all, I'll read the second one, and I'll be prepared for the third one, because I know she's huge, and yay, I can get a lot of interaction with a brand new giant book. First off, I didn't know this freaking book was 800 pages. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really have to like a book to make it through 800 pages. But I got about 100 pages in. Have junk food, it's not going to be great, but yeah. So I got about 100 or so pages into the first Crescent City book series, and I had to stop. I was just like, I can't do this to myself. Like the character was just kind of her main character was just kind of annoying. Now here, and I am very well aware that this book was not written for me. Okay. The Crescent City book was not written for me. But I had to stop. And then I felt so bad. I felt so bad that I DNF'd this book. I said a month later, I was like, okay, I have to figure out a way to make this up. So I was like, her first series was the Throne of Glass series. So I was like, all right, I'll read the first book in the Throne of Glass because it has to be okay, at least, right? Because it's what made her famous. So, and I read it. I read the whole thing, and it was only like a 400-page book, so that's easy. Wanted to see what the excitement was about. Wasn't your jam. Yeah, so I read Throne of Glass, and it was okay. I was actually, I wasn't like enthralled by it, but I could understand. It. I was like, okay, I get why people liked the book. Now, here's where I think a lot of people get mad or hate on Sarah J. Maas, right? So I read the Throne of Glass. It was okay. I see the appeal. But do I think that she should have sold millions of copies? No. And I think that's what people get mad at a book. Like they feel like, well, if the book sells 1 million copies, it should be one of the best fantasy books. And that's not what happens with books. Some of the best books ever written probably have only sold 100 copies. I mean, marketing is a giant thing here. And I read into her bio, and she had a pretty smart marketing strategy about her books. I think she was like doing some kind of like where she would release a chapter here, and then like when she had like 6 chapters out and people were starting to get hooked on it, then she's like, oh, I'm releasing the whole thing. And she had traditional publishers behind her, able to kind of push her book out. And so marketing is probably even more important. And here's what a lot of people don't want to hear. Like, they say, well, first thing is first, write the book. The book has to be amazing. That's the first thing first. And like, you can get an average book, a book where you read and you're like, that's a 3-star book. It's okay. It was fun. you can take a book like that, and with the right marketing, you can make that the biggest book in the world. You know, and I think that's where a lot of people hate on like these romance authors. And somebody asked about TikTok books. Have I read any books that became big because of TikTok? And so, yeah, my wife, she ordered. Let me see. I got it back here. So I had no idea because I'm not huge into TikTok, but I seen that. I was like, oh, I was filling the Amazon package. I was like, oh, this is a book. You bought a book? And she's like, oh yeah, I just seen it on TikTok. You know, I'm wondering about it. And it was this book. If you know anything about this book, all right, Haunting Adeline. This is dark romance, and I mean dark. But I was like, okay, so my wife was going to read this, and I was like, I'll read it too. Why not? We can talk about it. And this is a freaky book. If you are offended by anything sexual, do not read this book, because this has every weird kink, dirty thing you can think about it. But I will say that this book had one of the reasons probably why this book was really good was not just the romance, but the story behind it was actually pretty good. She could have cut all the romance out and made this into a pretty good thriller. Girls know. So I actually ended up reading the second book too. Yes, Oprah. Oh, there's John. Hey, if you got time, you can jump on, John. Yeah. I remember being a kid, and Oprah was like the bookmaker, but Oprah really never talked about, we don't have, outside of book talk, we don't have people that boost fantasy books. Her thing was, romance books or your traditional fiction stories, like something Hemingway would write. That's normally the kind of stuff. And speaking of super popular, like romance, mainstream style stuff, there's a book coming out. I want to say it might be coming out next month, called From Ali Hazelwood. And I'd never heard of her before, but apparently she sold she sold millions of books in the romance genre. And she's stepping into fantasy for the first time with a book called Bride. And the cover looked interesting. I knew nothing about her. I was like, oh, pretty cool looking kind of anime style cover. And hey man, John, I got lucky because my day off is Monday, and working at the post office, if your day falls off on a holiday, they push your day off back. So I get a 3-day weekend, man, or I'd be at work too. But yeah, so Ali Hazelworth, and I read the back of the book, and the book does, it is very romance related. It's like a vampire bride, but she's like the bride to a noble vampire. And of course, there's an alpha werewolf that's fighting. So I don't know if they're fighting some kind of war, and she's supposed to help them. So, I'm trying to open my horizons. Not normally my thing. Again, it's not written for me, but I can enjoy a book and tell people when I think a book's good, even if it's not written for me. Yeah, I also wonder if that book, Iron Wing, is that what it's called? Iron Wing or Fourth Wing? Iron Flame was the sequel. Fourth Wing became this giant book that sold like 3 million copies, and it was all over BookTube. And I'm like, why is this book over BookTube? I've never seen this before. So I wondered to myself if Fourth Wing was a TikTok book too. I dabble in TikTok. There was a time where I was originally posting. If you guys have watched any of my shorts, I have like 70 to 100 shorts that are just about like monsters and mythology. And I had TikTok originally for that purpose. I was porting all of those videos over, starting those videos over there because it has a good green screen, and YouTube didn't have a green screen feature for shorts at the time. So what I'd do is I'd go to TikTok, make my creature, short, and then I poured it over here to YouTube. Now that YouTube has its own, I do it over. I do all my shorts over here, and I don't mess with TikTok as much as I used to. Funny cats. Oh, and Booksmart. Yeah. But yeah, what are some books that right now in the comments? What are some books that you guys are interested in? I know. I'm trying to think. Grab my list here because I have a list of all the books. Have you heard of a book? The Three Body Problem. I have, yeah, that was. I know that's a big book. I need to read that. Is that a horror? Is that in the horror genre too? Is it like horror fantasy? I know that was a big book on BookTube for a little bit. I just haven't got around to it. There's a lot of. I've been last year, and I'm continuing it this year. I'm trying to do a lot of like shocking horror books. Like me and my wife together, we read American Psycho. I read The Wasp Factory, Tenders the Flesh. I read another one or two, but there's some Japanese horror books like Umaki or Uzaki. There's a handful of them that I really do want to get to because there a lot of great horror comes out of Japan, and they actually write some really good novels too. But yeah, like Lee Bardugo, who I guess I want to say like Six of Crows and Shadow and Bone is her big series, but I was introduced to her through Ninth House, and then I read Hellbent, which was the sequel to that. She's got a book coming out. It's a standalone called The Familiar. Of course, another vampire stuff. Who would have known? But yeah, that comes out in April, so that's going to be one I'm going to jump on. And then next month we have Richard Swan's trilogy, the final of the trilogy, Devious Lies. I think that's a smut book that my wife is reading. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, of course, the guy or somebody in it's a billionaire. Why not? Yeah. Right now I'm reading Blood Drawn by John Conroe. See, I haven't heard of that one. That'll be put down in there, man. My TBR can only get longer, right? So whatever you guys got. But yeah, we got Richard Swan. I love it's I think it's Empire of the Wolf is what they call it. But yeah, the first two books in that series, Justice of Kings, was amazing. I love the way he wrote it. He wrote it from the view of the guy's sidekick, like the girl who's following him around and trying to he's mentoring her maybe to take his spot. Who knows? But I love that view of the way she is telling his story while she's kind of beside him most of the time. So I thought that was a cool POV to do. But yeah, he's finishing off the trilogy next month. And then we also have Danielle L. Jensen, a Fate Inked in Blood. And that is a Norse inspired romance fantasy all rolled into one. I know she's a huge romance author. I think it's kind of funny to see a bunch of these romance authors trying to step into fantasy. I think it's an easy transition to do where they can my fans will follow me anywhere, right? Because romance readers are the most voracious readers. But her thought is probably, well, I can pick up some of these fantasy fans along the way and make myself even bigger. But yeah, hit that link below if you want to jump on the stream and come up here and talk about anything you guys want to talk about from fantasy genre. Nevernight, right? And that's Jay Kristoff's, right? Nevernight. Yeah, I just finished the Greenbone saga last month, actually. Would I recommend Empire of the Wolf? Absolutely. I think I think Richard Swan, the Justice, you have Justice of Kings, and then it went to the Tyranny of Faith, and now the final book is going to be called A Trial of Empire. Yeah, Richard Swan reminds me of Joe Abercrombie. So if you're into grimdark, if you're into Joe Abercrombie, I think Richard Swan can be the next Joe Abercrombie. If I was going to, kind of lump him into a certain genre, or to a certain link him to another author, it would be Richard Swan and Joe Abercrombie. Very similar, similar writing styles as well. The story and the magic system, it's kind of not super heavy on the magic. It became more so in the second book, so I wonder if he's going to ramp it up in the third. But yeah, if you like a different type of magic system that you don't see all the time, it's pretty cool. Kind of has, I don't want to give too much away, but these guys are called justices, right? And they go out and they are judge, jury, and executioner for the king. So they know all the laws. If you break the law, they come in, they decide how bad your punishment should be. And they have a way of speaking. It's called, I think they call it the voice of the king. And you have to study to figure out how to do it. And they keep that knowledge under lock and key. And they can just say something. They use their, kind of almost like Dune, how they have certain ways of talking. And they can be like, why did you do this? And they kind of have to scream while they do it. And the person will freak out. The person will like uncontrollably tell the truth. Yeah, it's like Judge Dredd with magic instead of more sci-fi, right? Yeah, but the main guy isn't the one telling the story; it's his sidekick that's telling the story. And it's a younger girl. She's like 20 or 21, I think, and he's a veteran. He's like 40, 45 years old, and she's kind of following him around telling the story. So the angle at which you get to see the story is really good. And then as we go into March, that's when Empire the Vampire from Jay Kristoff, his second book in that series, comes out. And people seem to really, a lot of people that I wouldn't think would like that book seemed to really like Empire the Vampire. And then there was some people who I thought would love it, and they just crapped all over it. They were like, and I see what they didn't like. And I don't know if he does this in Nevernight or his other books, but man, Jay Kristoff likes to say fuck. I mean, I don't think there's one paragraph, definitely not one page. There's no way that there's a single page in Empire the Vampire that doesn't say fuck. It's just over and over and over again. And I'm not against curse words. I mean, they're not littered through my book, but when it would make sense for someone to say it in conversation, yeah, you'll find them in my books. But his was just like, oh, yeah, definitely give Empire the Wolf a try. I mean, and if you like it, well, the final book in the series is about to come out next month, so you'll have something really to look forward to. So yeah, March we have that. Then Peter V. Brett, who I've never read any of his books. The second book in one of his series is coming out, and this one's called The Hidden Queen. I've had so many people tell me I need to read Peter V. Brett, and I think I'm going to try and read the first book and then catch the new book in March. If if I like it, hopefully it doesn't turn into a Sarah J. Maas thing where I can't handle it anymore and just stop it. It's really Oh, are you saying that because you guys like to use the F word all the time? Is that a thing? I remember seeing Philip Chase say how he just loved Empire the Vampire, and I'm like, really, Philip? That doesn't seem like a book that would be up your alley. And then other people like Alex Naives, he was like making fun of the book so hard. I think he DNF'd it. I'm like, really? I would have thought Alex would have really liked Empire the Vampire. But I think the second book's going to be even better because I think we're going to get more, the lore is really cool. And I think, he's actually going to go for it and like really, step up more action, more like trying to push the plot forward. A lot of this book was just kind of setting up the world, setting up the character, getting you to know what he, what he feels like. Yeah, the demon cycle. I guess this is like in the same world, but it's not the same story as Demon Cycle. But yeah, I definitely want to get into Demon Cycle at some point this year. There's so like I've hit so many big some of the big series that now I'm trying to look around and find some other fantasy authors that have big series that I haven't read. Oh, the C word. That's my wife's favorite word. Yeah. My wife can use that word in any any sense. Oh, but I'm trying to think. What do we got? Do we have some other big books coming out here? Holly Black, The Prisoner's Throne. I want to say that's the sequel to The Stolen Heir, which I actually had on my TBR the month it was coming out, but I just never got around to reading it. Last year was the year of the Dresden Files and Cradle, so we were doing all this, and then we just did Tower of Swallows discussion for our Witcher read along. And now we're going to be on the final one. So next month, probably the first week of next month, will be the final Witcher discussion. Find a new book and then some new partners to read. What do you guys think? Hit me in the comment. What do you guys think would be an interesting series that you don't see on YouTube on BookTube all the time? What would be an interesting series for people to do lives and discuss? Like get a group of three to five people. Discuss like what book series do you think would be a good discussion book series? Normally, I don't do super short books. And if you guys want to discuss it, hit that stream and hit the StreamYard and pop in and let me know what you guys are what you guys want to talk about. Oh, here we go. It's Britton. Yeah. See if he's ready.
Hello.
What's up, Brenton?
Doing one of these again?
Oh, one of those. Yeah, man. I'm gonna try to, make this a little bit more regular thing. Just couldn't do one last month. I don't think I did it last month. I think I did it at the end of November. But yeah, I'll try to do this more regularly and have anybody who wants to pop on. I mean, I'm sure. You're excited. You got your. Did they cancel or move the Bills game, right?
Did they?
Because they said it was it because it was so cold or because it was?
Oh yeah. The Bills are. Oh my God, yeah, the Bills are. Oh yeah, it's super cold over there apparently. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard that they're not going to cancel or move the Chiefs game when it's going to be like -30. I'm like, how are you going to live?
Oh man, that's gonna suck.
Like I've delivered Mel in negative. It was what was it? It was 0 degrees, and with the wind chill, it was almost -20, and that is life or death out there, man. If you don't have the right equipment, you are done. Like you won't be able to make it. So I can't imagine. Like they're gonna have to be like sitting in like warming chambers and stuff like that, like you used to see in the 70s when they'd be playing out in Minnesota or something. Oh, they moved the Bills game to Monday. Yeah, that's what I heard. I was pretty sure they moved it.
Yeah, no, it's Sorry about the Bengals this year, man. I think they were gonna be better than what they were gonna be.
Well, I mean, it's you know what, we had a winning season with a backup quarterback, so I'm almost like, you know what, I can't be too mad. I'm mad that Joe got hurt, but
one JB got replaced with another one. Oh
yeah, man.
I guess Bailey Books and Sport watched my newest video because I'm gonna be reading Fourth Wing soon.
Oh, are you gonna be reading Fourth Wing?
Yep. I guess my audience wants to torture me a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought Wheel of Time was gonna win. I thought that was gonna be a landslider, but nope. Fourth Wing.
Well, that's the thing with Fourth Wing. Like it seemed like everybody read Fourth Wing, except for like some of the people I'm close to didn't really read it, but they kind of. So I'm guessing Fourth Wing is very. Is it like a very YA romancy type book in
That's
there?
what I've heard. I haven't heard a lot about it aside from it's been making the rounds on BookTube. I guess I don't. Again, I'm so like dissociated from new releases. You know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I really had to go out and like search out all these new releases because they don't just new releases don't just pop into my sphere. I have to actually go and look for them.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. Or well, I'm gonna read the Amazon sample first, and if I
Okay.
dig it, then I'll keep going, and if not, too bad. Though, I might just get it. I don't know if the libraries are selling it yet because I don't know if I want to pay to get Fourth Wing. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. Like, okay, so toward especially on the back half of 2023, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna step out of my wheelhouse. I'm gonna read some stuff that I normally wouldn't read. Try not to judge it too harshly to begin with, and then I'll make my judgment at the end. So I read. I don't know if you.
I guess Bailey watches my channel because
Read it on and vlog it.
Because that's pretty much what I'm gonna. It's basically gonna be like a reading vlog. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a book called The Savior's Champion, and it's
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Jenna Morisi. Yeah, I like
Morasi's book, right? Yeah, she's like the biggest author tuber or whatever, right? And I used to watch her when I first got on. When I first was like, you know what, I'm going to write a book. Maybe she can, I can get some snippets from her, and whatnot. But so I read the book, and it's a pretty big book too. I mean, it's a 600 pager or whatnot, and it was okay. I did like so many people hated on it. They were like, oh, the way, yeah, and just knowing her, it was weird because I watched so many of her videos. I know her personality and I know her politics and stuff. So I kind of, you could see it more in the book, but like, yeah, she tries to write, she's writing a romance, but also she's trying to write some kind of like tournament style fantasy. And yeah, it wasn't great, but it was okay. It was just,
I think people were vitriolic because like she's so known on YouTube,
yes,
and they were like, "Oh man, this should be a banger, right?" 'Cause she gives all this advice, and then well, I mean, I haven't read it, so I don't know, but I guess
yeah. Well, I think a lot of people kind of get stuck when somebody's very popular. They expect, and especially if it's a person that gives advice on writing, they expect you better be the best, right? This better be, if you're trying to tell me how to write a book, you better be the best writer who ever lived. And I'm like, well, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, technically she's a good writer, but like the story is like, yeah, it's not groundbreaking. She uses a lot of tropes that are romancy, slightly above YA. She does kind of the Jay Kristoff thing too, where she thinks, although she does it in the context of writing whenever the male characters are only around male characters, there's no females around, she thinks that all guys just sit around and cuss at each other and talk about each other's penises the whole time. Like I was just like, this is not how we talk. And you know what? Women probably make fun of us too. They're probably like, women don't act the way you men writers do it.
Yeah, sports or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so what is that book? What is that book that he sent? The Atlas 6. So let's read this. An Alexandrian society. All right, I'm cool with that. That sounds good right off the bat. Caretakers of lost knowledge from the greatest civilization of antiquity. All right. And the foremost secret society of magic academics in the world. Ooh, okay. So we got Alexandrians, we got magic, prestige beyond the wildest dreams, and only 6 with the most unique and talented magicians. Okay. All right. I think it's got.
I should reply to Jenny. I had no idea it was pronounced Gaelic until just now. I always pronounced it Gaelic.
I want to try past the blatant. Oh, okay. So, Okay, so how are we saying? Are we not? It's not Gaelic. Okay, Ga
Garlic.
Gaelic.
Kind of like garlic.
So it's like okay, so you got to put a little accent on it. You got to put a little accent on it. Gaelic. Gaelic. I don't
know
know.
how this
I'm
works.
terrible. I'm terrible too. Um,
No, but yeah, I'm gonna see how Fourth Wing goes. I don't expect that I try not to knock things before I try them, but I don't know if
yeah,
it would appeal to me. But hey, I could always be surprised. I mean,
that's exactly how I approach it too. I'm just like, you know what? I hope I'm surprised.
I'm a bright side guy, so I try to
Yeah,
look.
yeah. I try to find the good in it, and that's the thing too. That's why I think I'm not trying to float my boat here and be like I'm such a great book reviewer, like But I think I'm a good type of person to do book reviews because I I will try to give you the unbiased positives of a book. Even if I didn't like it, I'll be like, this is why you might like it. I could see why people bought this book. Oh,
Interesting.
okay. I get what we're doing here. Okay, that makes sense.
I was watching God, I've been going through streams throughout the day. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth. I watched Matt on Book stream earlier, then I watched Carlos and Yolanda's stream, and then I came
Oh,
home.
okay.
I was
Yeah.
going to read some more Kagan the Damned, but I can wait a little longer. It's all right.
Yeah, I actually normally don't do streams on Saturdays. I almost always do my streams on Sundays, but I just happen to be off Saturday, and me and my wife are here with my son went to his grandmother, so we're like, hey, let's throw on a Saturday.
We got some free time.
Yeah, free time. Free time is stream time.
Oh yeah, I should note, congrats to Michigan for winning the national championship because
Go blue, right?
You're a Michigan fan, aren't you? Or
Yeah. I support everybody in the Big Ten. I support Ohio State 100%, except for when they play Michigan. Yeah, so
I thought it was like an OU Texas thing. I've seen Michigan and Ohio State fans get pretty nasty with each other.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Like growing up, it's weird. I live in Ohio, right? So everybody, everybody's Ohio State fan. And I think my big thing was I grew up around a bunch of Ohio State fans and a bunch of Browns fans, Cleveland Browns fans. And I think there was something clicked in my head around the age of 7 or 8, where I'm like, you know what? Whatever you like, I'm gonna like the opposite. So it was like I always like the Bengals because they have the cool uniforms.
Yeah.
But like I really I was like, okay, guys, you like the Browns, I'm a Bengals fan. You guys like Ohio State. Well, guess what? I like Michigan. I came into Michigan at the right time because I started liking them around 96 and they won their last championship in 97. So I was like, oh, I'm a fan of a good team,
Yeah.
Little did we know, I was it was going to be a long time. But yeah, one cool thing about this is about the stream, like make sure if anybody else wants to jump in, hit the StreamYard link and you can join on here too. I paid for like the upgrade, so now I'm streaming to 3 platforms. Who knows? I know one person is watching from Twitter right now, which is pretty cool. I don't use Twitter as much as I used to, not because of any weird thing about like some people hate Twitter. No, now it's just social media is a lot, man. I don't know about you, Brenton, but like it's like one thing is I'm focusing all my stuff on YouTube, and then I'll glance at Twitter every once in a while.
Well, I mean, I've just started using StreamYard again. I just use it on YouTube, so.
Yeah. So, do you do most of your stuff pre-recorded? Is that how?
I do most of my stuff pre-recorded. It's just the sound quality is a lot better on StreamYard. I've started doing streams again. I'm gonna.
Yes, F you guys. I'm rooting for your rivals. That's how I felt about my family. F you guys.
I wonder if they watched the Browns game today. I didn't get a chance to catch any of it.
Apparently they got their asses handed to them. It was like 24-14 at half, so it was relatively close, but then they got beat like 45-14. So
ouch. Dang.
So CJ Stroud's killing it this year.
Yeah, I'm shocked. be honest with you.
Yeah, I did not think that they would score as many points as they did, but
No,
yeah.
I'm just shocked the Texans just like did a little switch around and
Yeah. So there's
I bet Mike's happy because he's a Texans fan, isn't he?
so what are some books coming out or movies or TV shows that you're interested in? And all you in the chat, what are you looking forward to movie wise and book wise? Hit it in the comments or jump
coming
on.
out in 2024. Oh man, I've been so bad at keeping up with movies recently. God, what was the last one I saw? I think it was actually Killers of the Flower Moon. I saw it in theaters with my dad.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I liked it, though. I was kind of like, because I read the book about a month previous, and I was like, I should have made it into a show. It was good.
I think probably, one of the big ones. I mean, I don't know if you're into it, but like, I mean, Deadpool 3 that's really what's either going to save or going to be the end of Marvel, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. To be honest with I thought Deadpool 2 was fun. I'm not really a big Deadpool fan anyway, so there you go.
Yeah, Deadpool 2, not quite as good as
the first Deadpool movie was awesome.
Yeah, the second one was pretty good, and I've actually heard. Now this isn't Marvel or anything, but I've heard they're going to be doing a Gladiator 2. I don't know if Ridley Scott is just trying to make up for how bad the Green Knight did. And he's like, well, I'll just go back to my greatest hit. But I don't know how they're going to do it. I remember years ago, somebody talking about how they were going to follow his best friend. Man, what is that guy's name that's in everything? He was in Constantine. He was Papa Midnight in Constantine. I'm trying to remember his name. But I remember at one point they said they were going to follow him, in for Gladiator 2. But
I wasn't really that into the first Gladiator film, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the guy's name is like Jimon or something like that. But he's a good actor, but I don't know how. I mean, where are you going to go with Gladiator 2? Beekeeper, and I'm looking for Dune. You know what? I feel like I was one of the last people to watch the Dune movie. Because I remember, like, I don't know how much you watch Daniel Green, but I used to watch him a lot.
He was actually the first person who really got me into this.
Yeah, but he's the gateway drug to BookTube. Is Daniel Green.
Him and like Murphy.
Yeah. I always say, like, on this side of BookTube, it's like Daniel Green, Murphy Napier, and then like Elliot Brooks. But like Mike's book reviews, Mike is starting to climb. He might pass Elliot Brooks here if he keeps it up. So Beekeeper. Let's look at. Oh, okay, Jason Statham. All right, well, I'm in. What are we doing? School. All right, so we got Jason Statham is playing a school teacher. Is that what we're doing? Part. Oh, it's a school teacher. No, lives by herself. Tenant. Oh, well, here's what I'm saying. Anything Jason Statham's in, I'll give it a try. It can't be that bad, right?
24. Books I'm looking forward to. Well, Alan Moore is putting out his fantasy novel this year, so in terms of 2024 releases, it's kind of the only thing I'm looking forward to. At least so far. Again, I am so bad at keeping up with like what's being done right now. It's ridiculous. Because I have a bunch of other things I want to get to that aren't out in 2024.
So what do you got coming on? What's some of your priority reads and stuff that you're doing?
Well, I'm hoping to read more indie books this year, so I'm gonna see if I can try Thrice before the end of the month from Andrew D. Meredith. He kindly gave it to me as an ebook for free, so thank you, Andrew, if you watch this. Might try that because it sounds up my alley. It's kind of a lone wolf and cub thing, or The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Okay. What's that? The next book in the More Than Vampire series. Nick, have you read More Than a God War? the third book in the series is probably we're going to be looking at 2025 because I might be able to get 2 books out this year. The short story collection will be the next, and then maybe Year's End will be the More Than a Dragon.
Whatever well, do Panda 4, maybe. Yeah.
Kindergarten Cop or Pass. You know what? I don't know. Will he go the Vin Diesel route and Arnold Schwarzenegger route and become in the later end of his career be a kids guy? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll get like a migraine after a while.
Robin Hobb. I tell you what, man, I was so not disappointed in Robin Hobb. I was disappointed that I didn't like Assassin's Apprentice as much as I had hoped. Like, I thought Assassin's Apprentice was going to be one of the best. And here we go. Here's like what I was telling you earlier, where I think some people expected like Jenna Morassi, because she's a big booktuber or big YouTuber and she tells you how to write, that people expected a lot from her. Well, I expected a lot from Robin Hobb. I expected her because people are like, oh, if you like characters or if you like this, like Robin Hobb's the best. She might be the best writer of all time. And so I went into Assassin's Apprentice like, all right, here we go. Can't wait for a new series to dig my teeth into. And I was just like, meh. It was okay. There was some parts in it that were like just dragged on, and I just felt like,
yeah, I've heard more like a character study than like something like, that's going on.
Like everybody treats the main character like dumb. Like, okay, like if you guys love Robin Hobb and you want to get on here and tell me why I'm dumb for not liking her, you can jump on too. But I know Robin Hobb is looked up to by everybody in the BookTube community as like the best. But like, I think, and again, I know I beat a dead horse when I talk about Jim Butcher and the Dresden Files, but Jim Butcher can make me love a character or at least care about a character inside of 400 pages. Like the first time I ever meet the character, before the end of the book, I'm invested. Like I'm not going to say who, but he kills a character in one of these books. And that's the only time you ever see that character is in one of the books. And it's emotional. Like, I have read books that are 800-page books, and I could care less, about the characters that they kill off. Like,
I'm trying to wait for the hype train for Hobb to go down, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So she's on my. I'm putting it off. Like,
that's what I've done with her for the longest time, and then finally I was like, okay, this will be the year. Yeah, I've heard people say Live Ship is better than Farseer, but okay, Jay, is the question like, do you have to read Farseer to understand Live Ship? That's my thing. Like, I would be willing to try the first book in Live Ship, but if I need to read the other trilogy, I don't know if I'll get to it. Yeah.
Oh dear. I was just talking to John or he was talking about Last of Us. So yeah, that's fun.
When's The Last of Us coming back?
Oh man, I have no idea. I didn't watch the first season of the show because you know what frustrates me, Joe? I'll tell you something that frustrates me.
What grinds your gears?
What grinds my gears? What grinds my gears is why do people have to make adaptations of things that are already good? I mean, my God, I don't know if you watched Cowboy Bebop, but they made a live action show of that. Why?
I heard it was bad.
Why? Why are you trying to replicate perfection? You cannot. Okay. Same thing with Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm like, why? This thing is already perfect as it is. Why are you remaking it? Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay. So this could be a hot topic here. This could be one that grinds some other people's gears. This is a good topic, Brenton. That's a good topic, right? So I've heard other people ask this question before whenever I do videos about like
same thing with The Last of Us. Like, why are you making a show? Yeah. The game is already perfect as it is.
People are like, this video game was awesome. Why would you make a thing? Or the book was already great. Or the anime was already great. well, first and foremost, they want to. These are businesses, right?
Well,
Right.
yeah.
So, an author, especially once you make it to a certain level, you're a business. I mean, you're trying to make money, right? And then if you've made an anime, well, that was a business, and now you want to make more money. So, what's a great way of making money? Making it into something that's new, something that's slightly different. And this is gonna. Are you big into anime?
I dabble. I mean, my favorite one is still Cowboy Bebop because
Okay.
I mean, which
So
is more westernized, to be honest, than
yeah.
a lot of other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Western
really
animation is not the same as anime. Like my friend hits me with this all the time.
But no, I'm not really. A couple exceptions aside, I'm not really into anime.
Yeah.
I know One Piece is blown up.
Okay. She knows where I'm headed. She knows exactly where I'm headed. Right?
Well, where are you going? Let me hear it.
Okay. So, and okay. Maybe do I want to make some people mad? Okay.
You might grind some gears.
Let's grind some gears. So we got 9 people in here at the moment as it bounces back and forth. See how many of these people are like hardcore anime people. The one reason why they will change stuff that's anime or video games is because when you make something live action, it becomes serious. People take it more serious. They accept it more when you put real people. Like I've watched Berserk.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Sure. Yeah.
I've watched all. I was hardcore into DBZ all the way from Dragon Ball all the way up through the Boo saga and all that. And I've watched a lot of animation stuff, but I can never completely come out of my disbelief when I'm watching something that's animated. Like no matter how good the story is, no matter how adult oriented it is, Claymore, Castlevania, there's still emotion as I'm watching this. I understand it's animation. It's not real. None of these are a movie's not real, right? But I don't like watching 3D either because I want to sit there and I'm able to completely soak myself into the movie and put myself there. And I think that's what, there are people who completely refuse to watch anime and because they're like, well, that's, so I don't think this way, but some people are like, well, that's kiddie stuff. That's for children to watch.
Well, I wonder what they would think when they watch like live action One Piece because I saw the trailer and it looks pretty similar to.
Yeah. Only I like it's Afghanistan animation. That's right. Super Troopers 3 has begun.
I guess Bailey watches my channel because she's like, you will be jumping for joy when they make a
dreaming. Started dreaming in anime. I love. Yeah, Nathan, my best friend, he is super anything anime. He will get mad. He would be one of these people if he was on right now that would be yelling at me and being like, anime is just as good as live action. And I'm like, I'm not saying that they can't tell great stories. But there, like you said, Brent, why do they keep doing it? Why do they keep adapting these things? Because they want to hit a new audience and they want more cred. It's like if it's live action, people take it more serious. One thing I'm worried about, I'm excited, but also worried about is BioShock. To me, it was the best video game story of all time. And I'm just hoping that when they make it into live action, that it's going to be something crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just get kind of frustrated at because there's already this beautiful thing we had here.
Yeah.
And then they're making it in the live action. I mean, you know what? I get it. They're a business. They can do whatever they want. Doesn't mean I have to like it though.
So again, if you want to come on and yell at me or yell at Britain, hit that link and pop on here.
I don't know why they'd yell at me. I thought most people would be like,
hey, I'm just trying to spread the love. If they want to yell at me, they can yell at you too. but yeah, I understand what you're now. Are you hesitant because you're worried that they're going to screw it up? Is that what you're worried about?
No, well, I mean, there's probably a part of me that is, but that's not really my thing. Is just like, is it necessary? And not even just like it just kind of feels like blatant cash grab, and it just feels kind of
some of them do. Yeah.
It just feels kind of dirty to me.
Yeah, yeah, you're like, should I even watch? And that's another thing too, right? Especially if it's something you like, you're like, should I even watch it? This is totally just a cash grab. But then you're like, I need to see what's going on. Yeah, like I can't not.
Yeah.
I can't. Like I heard people telling me about Halo. They're like, man, they don't stick to the source material.
Oh, I've heard the Halo show is a travesty.
And I was just like, I gotta. Here, to me, the Halo show is a perfect example of good show, bad adaptation. They did not stick to the source material, but if you've never heard of Halo, you'd probably like it if you're into sci-fi military. You probably think that's a great show. Meanwhile, hardcore fans of Halo are over here like, that's not what happened.
Well, what turned me off from that show is that Master Chief takes his mask off.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, he never takes it off.
Yeah,
it's like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I get it.
Takes the mask off.
I get it. You got Pablo. He's hot, right? And you got to show the ladies the hotness that's underneath. Well, which three book would you want on your side? Oh, that is a good question. Who would I want on my side? Ah, man.
Probably get John from Talking Stories, like my number one. He's a cool guy.
Well, my thought is you got to have somebody who I think is going to be cool under pressure. So maybe somebody who's semi-athletic that can help me in a fight. I'm like
Jimmy Nuts, maybe.
Jimmy's got to be on there, right? You got to have, Jimmy's a pretty big guy. He's gonna help you out.
I actually wouldn't mind a Harry Potter show because they could actually flesh out a lot of the stuff that the movies missed out on. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, look at you over here. That's a cash grab, right?
I know. I still like the movies. But
you get to see Master Chief's butt too. Yeah, that was the proselytizing Master Chief over here.
And they say guys only care about sex. This is disgraceful.
Okay. Let's you know what? I showed it off earlier, but let's go. They want to talk about all guys want is sex. Who's reading all these romance novels? Kendall Vella? That's a good topic.
I don't even know if I know what that is. Like
Kendall Vella is an amazing idea. It's actually an idea that I thought about a long time ago. Not that I would implement it, but that I think authors could implement within like Patreon. I don't think it works for authors because there's no way for an unknown author. There's no way to really advertise within Kendall Vella. Now, what it is it's a serialized thing. It's like you put out a chapter every week, right? And people can get to
a YouTuber I like who's done that.
They can people can read the first 3 chapters or first 3 things that you put out. Then after that, they have to buy them with tokens. And I've heard that you don't make as much through that as you would. Like it's like diminishing. Like on Kindle Unlimited, if somebody reads my whole book, I make like $1. What do I make? Like $1.70. Whereas if they buy my book in paperback form or hardcover, I make like $2.75, $2.80, somewhere in that neighborhood. But yeah, with Kindle Vella, Kindle Vella is only in the US. And if you, like I said, if you're an established author, that's a great spot. You can just, and if you just want to do like side stories, that's a great thing. Yeah. Hey, jump on the live, guys. If you don't be afraid. I don't bite. No. But Kindle Vella, it's basically just a serialized thing where you can put out chapter after chapter. Great idea, but I just don't think it's been implemented great.
Yeah, with Harry Potter, like it's weird. Like, how are you gonna follow up the iconic movies though? Like, it's just kind of.
You'd have to do a big budget version. It'd have to be on HBO or something.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. How they would have to,
Yeah, you couldn't just pop that on like FX or something.
Oh my god, that would get canceled in like 2 seasons. Like,
yeah. So, I think I've heard that the Rings of Power is like $50 million per episode. I'm like,
Oh
you're
man,
losing
I
money.
watched 2 episodes of that crap and I stopped. It gave me a migraine watching it.
Well,
So boring.
yeah, like to me, the Rings of Power was one of the best looking shows I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, I can tell you guys are spending $50 million an episode on this stupid thing, but the story and the acting was horrible. Like
What's weird is that I only watched like 2 episodes and I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
yeah, I think I made it through like three episodes, maybe 4. I
You're
didn't
a
even watch
braver
the
man
whole,
than me.
I didn't even watch the whole first season of The Wheel of Time. I think I made it to like the second to last episode of the first season. And now I know Wheel of Time's been out for a long time, but like it felt like the most generic story I'd ever seen.
I have to agree with Jenny. That's the one thing. Like those are such well cast films. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you could do it again.
It's weird. I still have to. I think I've only watched the first 4 Harry Potters. I need to. Not that I had anything against them, but it was just I don't know. I just never got around to it.
They made a Dresden show, didn't they?
We don't speak of this.
Oh yeah, it was really bad.
They made like he was 6 or 7 books in when Sci-Fi Network.
Oh god,
picked it up, and he doesn't have a staff. He has a hockey stick. He doesn't drive a Beetle. He drives a Jeep. Bob is not a skull. Bob is a ghost. They've changed they changed so much stuff.
Yeah, I saw like 1 episode on like YouTube, and I mean, I haven't read the Dresden Files, but it was laughable. Like, it was just like, are you serious right now?
Yeah, so we just act like that didn't happen, and we're waiting for the next one.
Yeah, hopefully I can get a proper Dresden, even though I haven't read Dresden yet. I want to do that someday. See what all the fuss is about.
Oh, everybody who has ever all right, if you've heard anything about the Dresden Files and if anyone's talked to you about it, they've probably said something to the effect of, changes. Oh my God, get to changes. And, then,
No, Jenny, that's funny you bring that up. I had the same exact thing happen with Avatar: The Last Airbender. I saw the movie first, and I was like, this is okay. And then I watched the show later and rewatched the film, and I'm like, oh, now I see why it's so bad. Because this show is awesome.
Yeah, but people will tell you get to the changes, and I was messing with my friend when I was going through them. I'm like, dude, you're blowing this up so much. It's not going to be that good to me once I get there because you've overhyped it so much. And then I got there and I was like, why didn't you warn me? And he's like, I've been telling you the whole time, watching Mike from Mike Books Reviews and then Sarah from Sarah Reads, watching their because Mike, he read it first before she got there. And he read the final chapter out loud in front of the camera, and he's like, and then Sarah did the same thing. She was crying. She was crying multiple times during her vlog of changes, which I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, he's just cranking. I mean, I bet George R.R. Martin is just envious because he just cranks them out, man.
Nothing funny.
Changes is book 12. That is insane.
Okay. Now let me preface this because I hate those. I'm gonna be that guy.
It peeves me when people are like, "Oh, wait till this book."
Yes, I am that person that hates that, right? but the difference is, it's like people will tell me for the Wheel of Time, oh, get into man, once you get into book 3, I'm like, they're 1,000 pages long. just like with freaking Steven Erickson's Book of the Fallen, Malazan, right? I've went through the first 3 books twice. They're 1,000 pages a piece. Some of those books are like 1,300 pages. I'm like, don't tell me I have to read 4,000 pages before I like something. That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous to ask. So the only reason, here's what I tell people with Dresden. If you don't like it through 3 books, if it hasn't got, and they're only like 350 to 400 pages a piece. So it's not like I'm asking you to read
So they're like
tomes,
episodic, aren't they? Like the books, like
yeah,
they're
at
standalone,
the beginning. Yeah. At the beginning, they're very Monster of the Week, very Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But over time, and this is I recently did a video, and it was like, what are good fantasy books? If you like this, if you like detective genres, what kind of fantasy would you like? If you like mob books, what kind of fantasy book would you like? Well, the reason why I say Dresden for that is because it works you in very slow. Like, yes, he's a wizard. Okay, so you have to accept that. But it's not super high fantasy. It's low fantasy.
That's the thing. I'm more susceptible to read Dresden because at least it starts out as more episodic, because that's what the fans say. But
yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like something I would like, like a noir fan. I'm like,
yeah. If you like noir, you'll love it. And and it's slowly it's very low fantasy, very urban fantasy. But by the time you're like 6 or 7 books in, it's like you can't see the forest for the trees, and now you're like, oh shit, I'm in an epic fantasy. Where did this come from? That's exactly what it is. Like by the time you're in there, you're like, holy, because like people who have only like booktubers who have read all these other big book series, and then they read a couple of the Dresden books. They go, oh, well, this is simple fantasy, nothing too hard about it. Nothing. It's not a really big world. And I'm like, yeah, keep reading, and then it just becomes an epic fantasy.
It's like it slipped and fell and became an epic fantasy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yes, people who say you got to read Malazan multiple times to get it. I do not want to read 1,000-page books over and over again before I understand it. It's like. And that's another book
scene
too.
In The Incredibles 2 where he's yelling about math. It's like that.
Math. But yeah, like, and here's the thing with Malazan, I understand the appeal, and that's one thing I was telling you earlier. It's like I'm fine. I am completely fine telling people how I understand that people like this. I'm not one of those people who's like, how can you like this piece of crap? I'm never like that, but I'm like, you know what? Malazan has the biggest world I've ever seen. Like his detail on the world building, next level. His prose, next level. But I was 3,000 pages in, and multiple characters have died, multiple ways they've came back to life.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I'm not invested.
From the people who don't like it, the people who do are like, "Oh, keep reading on,
keep reading." You got. So what? I need another 5,000 words, 5,000 pages before it really sinks in. No, like I understand it. Like I said, I'll give Erickson his props. Writing skill, he's up there with the best. World building might be the best, but characters. People who tell me that Malazan has the best characters, I'm like, are you freaking serious? Anybody can die in that book through 3, going into the 4th book. If I ever read it, I will care less if any single character I've ever read about dies. And there's like 500 characters in this book. That's one thing where George R.R. Martin does a great job.
I have heard that there are dinosaurs in Malazan.
Dinosaurs. I haven't got there, but apparently there's dinosaurs with swords for arms.
Yeah, I'm like, and I was hearing about this the other day, and I'm like, why the hell didn't they bring this up when they were hyping up Malazan? That actually sounds kind of cool.
That's what. Alan will do that anytime he talks about Malazan. Alan from the Library of Alexandria. He'll be like, dinosaurs with arms. What else do you need to know? But he's one of the few guys who I was watching his reviews as I was reading, and he's one of the only guys who will ever like tell you bad things about the book. Like almost nobody will tell you negatives about Malazan, you know. But
I've seen some negative reviews of Malazan in my time.
yeah, I don't see a lot of them. Sometimes people will hop on here and they'll agree with me, but like I don't see a lot of booktubers out there being like, well, Malazan's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, it's
Gardens of the Moon was good, but the problem is, like, he doesn't stick with the same characters, and he just keeps adding characters. There's like 500 characters in the book. Like George did a really good job of having a large cast and working, but I think he's even kind of tied himself up with so many characters. He's got to figure out a way to end their arcs, and I think that's I think that's a big problem with George. Is he doesn't know how to end everybody's arc. I think that's going to be a problem with him over the next couple books.
Yeah, I've just given up when it comes to Martin. Just like I enjoy Song of Ice and Fire, and all the good stuff is good, and then all the bad stuff he hasn't written it yet. I've accepted it at this point.
Yeah. I think Jenny's onto something too. Yeah, I think he kills off the characters he can't figure out how to finish their arc. Hey, that's a way to that's a way to do it. I
enjoy depending on how he decides to end it, I don't know how he would do that, but I guess we'll see.
No, but yeah, I mean, the way Dresden does it, and if I ever end up in this situation, I've been pretty good about containing certain characters within my books, where it's like you don't have to worry about why weren't they in this book if it's in the same world, because I'm moving timelines and moving continents and stuff like that. But Jim Butcher does a good job about it, but like he'll do something blatantly obvious, but we'll accept it. Where like at the beginning of one of the books, he'll have Dresden on the phone with somebody, and that person's like, "Oh, I'm going on vacation to Hawaii," and you're like, "Okay, that means they're not going to be in the book." Okay, that's how he gets away from having to write them into the book, is send them on vacation or send them to another part of the United States where they're doing something. So I don't have to write that person in this book, which, it's kind of a better way than killing off all your characters if you don't want to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's why I kind of like Sword and Sorcery. It's a little smaller.
Yeah,
like I can.
So now you said you're through your first draft. Have you, are you deep into your self-editing now?
Yeah, I self-edited, and now I'm just sitting on it for a little bit, and then I'll probably go back to it eventually.
Let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, because there's stuff I want to add to it, but I'm like, all right, I'll worry about that later. I have other things I want to do.
Have you tried to line up beta readers yet?
Not yet. I do hope to do that eventually, though.
Yeah, I would. My advice to you would be maybe after your second run through your book, if it's polished enough to where you can read it without a bunch of grammatical errors, I would start beta reading, because you don't want to have your story.
I don't have the grammatical errors. I try to be careful about that, but there's some stuff that still hasn't come together, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, and they can kind of help you. They can kind of help you, be like, "Oh, you should have added something there," and you're like, "I thought I should have added something there."
I was on to something.
I was like, I was thinking about it, but now that you say it, yeah, I'm definitely going to write something else in here.
Let some good friends read the most recent draft I put up.
Oh, good. All right, well, we're coming up here on an hour and a half, and I think I got some dinner to do. Do you print and edit, or I do it off? Yeah, I do not print off and edit. That I know some people love that, but that's not something I do. I just do it off from the computer or from my phone. But thank you all. All of the we've had a good bit of people popping on here watching. Had some people watching from Twitter, not just YouTube, which is awesome, and some Facebook people. But thank you all, and we're gonna try to do this at least once a month. If it builds steam, maybe this will be a maybe a 2 or 3 times a month thing. But appreciate Brenton for jumping on here and discussing.
Probably gonna get something to eat myself, so this works out.
All right, man. Well, thank you all for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you all really soon.